entertained a good deal. Then, well, Ronald Fraser's first wife turned up looking for him. She wasn't dead after all. Oh, there was terrible scandal, master. The talk and gossip was something dreadful. Everyone you met had a different story, and it was hard to get at the truth. Some said Ronald Fraser had known all the time that his wife wasn't dead, and had deceived Margaret. But I don't think he did. He swore he didn't. They hadn't been very happy together, it seems. Her mother made trouble between them. Then she went to visit her mother in Montreal, and died in the hospital there, so the word came to Ronald. Perhaps he believed it a little too readily, but that he did believe it, I never had a doubt. Her story was that it was another woman of the same name. When she found out Ronald thought her dead, she and her mother agreed to let him think so. But when she heard he had got married again, she thought she'd better let him know the truth. It all sounded like a queer story, and I suppose you couldn't blame people for not believing it too readily, but I've always felt it was true. Margaret didn't think so, though. She believed that Ronald Fraser had deceived her, knowing all the time that he couldn't make her his lawful wife. She turned against him and hated him just as much as she had loved him before. Ronald Fraser went away with his real wife, and in less than a year word came of his death. They said he just died of a broken heart. Nothing more nor less. Margaret came home to her father's house. From the day that she went over its threshold she never came out until she was carried out in her coffin 3 years ago. Not a soul outside of her own family ever saw her again. I went to see her, but Janet told me she wouldn't see me. It was foolish of Margaret to act so. She hadn't done anything real wrong, and everybody was sorry for her, and would have helped her all they could. But I reckon pity cut her as deep as blame could have done, and deeper, because you see, master, she was so proud she couldn't bear it. They say her father was hard on her too, and that was unjust if it was true. Janet and Thomas felt the disgrace too. The people that had been in the habit of going to the Gordon place soon stopped going, for they could see they were not welcome. Old James Gordon died that winter. He never held his head up again after the scandal. He had been an elder in the church, but he handed in his resignation right away, and nobody could persuade him to withdraw it. Kilmeny was born in the spring, but nobody ever saw her except the minister who baptized her. She was never taken to church or sent to school. Of course, I suppose there wouldn't have been any use in her going to school when she couldn't speak, and it's likely Margaret taught her all she could be taught herself. But it was dreadful that she was never taken to church or let go among the children and young folks. And it was a real shame that nothing was ever done to find out why she couldn't talk, or if she could be cured. Margaret Gordon died 3 years ago, and everybody in Lindsay went to the funeral, but they didn't see her. The coffin lid was screwed down, and they didn't see Kilmeny either. I would have loved to see her for Margaret's sake, but I didn't want to see poor Margaret. I had never seen her since the night she was a bride, for I had left Lindsay on a visit just after that, and when I came home the scandal had just broken out. I remembered Margaret in all her pride and beauty, and I couldn't have borne to look at her dead face and see the awful changes I knew must be there. It was thought perhaps Janet and Thomas would take Kilmeny out after her mother was gone, but they never did, so I suppose they must have agreed with Margaret about the way she had been brought up. I've often felt sorry for the poor girl, and I don't think her people did right by her, even if she was mysteriously afflicted. She must have had a very sad, lonely life. That is the story, master, and I've been a long time telling it, as I dare say you think, but the past just seemed to be living again for me as I talked. If you don't want to be pestered with questions about Kilmeny Gordon, master, you'd better not let on you've seen her. Eric was not likely to. He had heard all he wanted to know and more. So this girl is at the core of a tragedy, he reflected as he went to his room, and she is dumb. The pity of it. Kilmeny. The name suits her. She is as lovely and innocent as the heroine of the old ballad. And oh, Kilmeny was fair to see. But the next line is certainly not so appropriate, for her eyes were anything but still and steadfast, after she had seen me at all events. He tried to put her out of his thoughts, but he could not. The memory of her beautiful face drew him with a power he could not resist. The next evening he went again to the orchard. End of chapter 6.